In the 10 years since I discovered the importance of having emergency backup solar power, I've gone from this little 2-panel 120 watt array all the way up to this 44 panel 20 kilowatt array on a fully off-grid power plant. Today I'm going to share with you the 4 phases of my solar journey, the trials, tribulations, and obstacles that I've had to overcome in order to finally get to this phase, and everything in between. So no matter where you are in your journey, there should be something in here that will help you on your path to going off-grid. And the key is that I've done it debt-free. I'm going to tell you how right now. Phase 1, portable power just to be able to charge your vehicle if you're in a grid down situation and you want to be able to charge your devices off of your car battery, but you don't want to start the engine because you don't know how long this grid down situation is going to last, and you don't want to turn your vehicle on and waste precious fuel because you don't know how long fuel is going to be available, how long the grid down is going to last. So with this little device, which I bought for my off-grid Jeep adventures, would enable me to go out, relax, not worry about ever draining my battery. I could plug in all my devices, not have the engine running, and trickle charge the battery all day long. So the way this little kit works, it's like a suitcase. The handle is actually connected to the small array itself. This is the 120 watt Go Power solar kit. They don't make this anymore. This is 10 years old. This is my actual very first one I ever bought. It looks exactly the same now, but it's 130 watts. We've had improvements in efficiencies for solar power. Just has these little clips on here. Open this up. Now inside you have a small charge controller and you have several different accessories. I believe the new ones have some different parts and pieces, but the concept is the same. When I was off grid, we wanted to park the Jeep in a shady spot. We had a rooftop tent, and that would enable us to extend this out into the sun, so we didn't have to be parked in the sun to get this to trickle charge the battery. Really simple little guys here, positive, negative. You just snap them together, hook this side to the array. Right here, same thing, just simple connectors. If you want to do temporary, this is the one that I used, little alligator clips for your battery terminals. These little legs just extend out. It slides out like this. And we'd stand it up and get it in the sun. All right, this little charge controller is just Velcroed to the back here. So this is the little 10 amp solar controller. I'm just sitting here with the hood up. We got it, the battery trickle charging. The accessory mode is not on. This is the little USB bank here, and this is always hot. So I'll just plug it in to show you. Another option, if you didn't want to use your car battery, is you could use one of these little gardening batteries that are more designed for small engines. Just hook up your 2 cables to this, and then once you're finished charging, you can hook up this other little device that I found that just hooks up to the battery, regulates the charge, will turn off if your battery gets too low, and will also be, charging directly USB devices off of this rather than from inside your vehicle. That was phase 1, and I probably have $230 invested in that phase 1 system, all in including tax. Obviously I paid cash, no debt. Now let's move on to phase 2. This is a home that I put a rooftop solar system on, and I don't own the home anymore, but I do have some drone footage that I took before I sold that home. Let me show you that system and how I had it installed at zero cost to me. This is the first house I ever bought. I bought it in 2003, and this is in a little town called Fountain Valley, California. And we sold this house in 2024 when we moved here full-time to Utah. But you can see that this has got panels on the south side and on the east side. And you can see that they are daisy chained together with these little boxes on here and conduit in between. And that then runs around and down to the side of the house here where the inverter was. And then around the eaves here, it runs over to the main utility box here, and then up through the roof onto this little periscope that runs over to the power line here. Now, the reason why I'm explaining that to you is this is what we call a net metering system, and there are no batteries. Now, this was just part of my journey. I didn't understand at the time that I needed emergency backup power. I didn't really understand how solar worked. They came out and installed this whole system at zero cost to me. But I did sign a contract with them, and this is the way the contract was set up. I pay a flat rate for the entirety of the contract. At 20 years, when the contract's up, I own the system and the contract ends. And I could put batteries, I could do whatever I wanted after 20 years. But the main point is that it didn't cost me a dime. They came out, they provided all the parts and all the labor to install this on the roof. They even went to Southern California Edison, the power company, and negotiated converting this lot into a basically a power center or a power plant instead of a residential lot, so that when the power comes from these panels during the day, it goes onto the line and the meter runs backwards, and I actually am earning money. I'm selling my power back to the power company. At night, when we come home from work, we're using power because the sun's gone down, there's no more power being generated, and that power is coming off the line and I'm paying for that power. The difference is that I'm generating more power during the day than I'm using at night. So I would get a check at the end of the year from the utility company for whatever the difference was. But I was paying only a fixed utility cost. And the reason why I wanted to do this was because they're going to pay for it, they're going to put it up there. I'm paying a flat rate that insulates me from rising utility costs for 20 full years. I'll never pay a dime more per kilowatt than I did on the day that I installed it. And to me, that was an enticing reason to have this installed. I wouldn't do it this way necessarily again, but I just wanted to illustrate that in your journey, you will find and learn, you'll find ways to learn a lot about solar. And the best way to do it is sort of jump in. And if you can afford to do something without going into debt, and as was the case for me here, this was an enormous learning experience, and I think I gathered a lot from it, which helped me ultimately when I began to formulate our off-grid system. Now, we hadn't bought the land in Utah yet when I put the system on, but I knew that I wanted to build an off-grid property someday, and so this was a very good learning phase for me, and I'm glad I did it. So that was phase 2, and again, zero money invested in that, no debt. Now let's move on to phase 3. This is our newest RV, but I didn't start here with RV World. I started with a much smaller little unit. It was a travel trailer, and it had a built-in solar rooftop system. That's what I want to talk about next, how to use a sort of a dual-purpose investment for grid-down security. Let's get into it. Before we get to phase 3, let me ask you something. If the grid went down in your area tonight, how long could your household function at least semi-normally? A few hours? A day, a few days, several days, a week? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear where you are in your journey to energy independence. This is our first little RV that we bought right after we built the barn. You can see the dirt floor in the barn wasn't finished yet. It's concrete now. No insulation on the walls yet. But this was a interim fix between phase 1 when we built a house and we had to tie to the grid because we couldn't afford to do the solar and the barn and everything in phase 1. So we built the house in phase 1, grid tied. Then 5 long years later, we built the barn and the solar array. And if you haven't seen my video on that yet, we needed the dirt from the excavation of the barn to make the flat terrace for the solar array. It all tied together. But in the meantime, we felt vulnerable because we didn't have any way to generate enough power to charge our devices, to have lighting, to have refrigeration if the grid went down. And the grid goes down in this area fairly often. Now, we haven't seen anything prolonged, obviously. We're still in normal civility, but I didn't like that vulnerability. So to me, this was a dual purpose purchase. It got me a fun recreational vehicle, an entry-level vehicle into the RV world. Also got me solar. So in a grid down situation, I could hook the truck up, pull this out into the sun, and run refrigeration, have lighting at night, be able to charge our devices, and really just live on the land. Now, obviously, we wouldn't have water or plumbing or sewer because we're not set up for that. We do have a septic system, but we don't have a line running to drain the RV into it. So my theory there was we'd use a shovel, dig a latrine, and then we always keep water on hand. I've got these 2 big tanks with 160 gallons in each tank that I change out every 5 years, and I shock it with a chlorine shock to preserve it so it's drinkable for 5 full years. And that was my solution to a potential off-grid situation. And you can see that this is a nice little rig there. It's got a little pop out. Of course, I paid cash, so no debt on this little RV. And I just wanted to kind of go over this dual concept with you. I wouldn't get yourself deep in debt. Maybe a little bit of debt if you have to be able to, put a big down payment down and then pay off the rest in a 5-year loan or something on an RV. But I wouldn't do this if you don't have a place to park it, because you wouldn't want to pay rent to store an RV, because then you're just really whittling away at the money that you could be using for your ultimate off-grid plan. So always being conscious of the end goal, and that is what we have now going into phase 4. And that is what took an enormous amount of effort, time, energy, planning, and saving to get to. So let's jump into phase 4. I would say this system was moderately expensive. I have seen a lot pricier systems out there, but I will link the video down in the description below that breaks down the complete costs of this system. So be sure to check that out after this video. And I will just say that we are debt-free. This system was not cheap, but it took a long time from what I call phase 2 of our property. Phase 1 was buying our raw land. Phase 2 was building our home. Phase 3 was digging out and excavating for this barn, and simultaneously building the solar array out on that terrace that was created from the dirt from where this barn was excavated out of. So we don't have a lot of flat land here, and I needed a really big piece of flat land for that solar array. So all of that had to kind of come in its own time. And this is a patience game. And I wanted to have this years and years ago, but it took me until now, or just till recently. It's been about a year and a half until we could afford to do this final phase and get completely off grid. Now, I don't know if you can hear this inverter just cranked up. These are really humming right now, and that's because they're processing all of that free power. So I just can't tell you how exciting it is to be able to wake up in the morning, have coffee, watch the sun rise, and at the same time know that that very sun that's warming me up and making me feel good is also giving our system a bunch of free power. It's one of the most liberating and satisfying outcomes of anything I've ever done. So I would just encourage you to start now, whichever phase you're in, and just wrap your mind around this concept. You have to be very dedicated. It's a long-term process to be able to do this and to be debt-free. And you don't want to pay the bank. You don't want to make them rich while you're trying to get off-grid, because the interest you're going to pay on a system that you finance, it's going to end up costing you multiples more than your system itself just in the finance costs. So I don't recommend that. I think it's better to start small and work your way up to this and remain debt-free, because ultimately energy independence and financial independence go hand in hand. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. Going off grid doesn't have to be a system this big. So if this just seems completely out of reach, it did to me a few years ago too, and I managed to get here. But not everybody's going to get to this size system, and that's okay. You can have a much smaller system and still get that same feeling of satisfaction when you see the sun come up, because you know that it's generating power. Maybe a little bit less power, so maybe you'll have a few less appliances running in your home, or maybe you have a smaller footprint energy-wise, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter where you are in the financial world. You just need to be diligent and dedicated to the cause. Don't get distracted and then go on a vacation and spend all your money that you saved for your solar system, or this is never going to materialize for you. And it's taken me a lot of patience and a lot of sacrifice to be able to finally get here where I am today. So that's my little 4-phase sort of life in the solar world and the off-grid power world. If you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more off-grid content. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.